Hey guys, it's Austin the Doctor, and welcome back to another video. I'm kind of sorry that I didn't do it on Saturday. I know I'm very late. I just wasn't really feeling well, so I couldn't make a video. I couldn't bring myself to make a video for you guys, and I'm very sorry, honestly. And I hope you guys aren't mad at me, but I kind of had to attend to my health first. But yeah. Anyways, let's start off with the Darlene the Franxx episode 19, and I'm just going to say I'm a little irritated yet fascinated with this episode, and that's the point of the episode basically. But yeah, episode 19, basically Dr. Franxx's backstory, and I wouldn't say 02 or let's just get towards the end, and we'll talk about that. But anyway, so we see that Dr. Franxx in the beginning talks to the AP saying to kind of relax on them because they won't remain obedient, and he found out, well, the AP tell him that they wiped Kokoru's and Mitsuru's mind, and Dr. Franxx was very not happy about it. Then we go back to the flashbacks, which is primarily most of the episode, and I actually loved it, honestly. But we find out Dr. Franxx's full name, Werner Frank. And I know we already heard his first name, but we all kept saying Dr. Franxx, and it's actually Dr. Frank. So, interesting. But I get why they call him Dr. Franxx, because he's the one that made the Franxx. But anyway, so the AP basically wanted to hire Franxx. I'm going to just call him Dr. Franxx from now on. I'm not calling him Frank because I got so used to it. But because of his cloning research that has been perfected. And Dr. Franxx, basically his talent was so good with cloning that his old boss was actually very scared of him and what he can do. And the APA was a company to do with like mining magma energy deeper than any man could, and that's kind of how they met everything, basically convinced everyone. And we see that we finally meet the blonde girl, which is Karina, I think is her name, which is, she actually researched the regenerative medicine, or basically regeneration in general, and the AP kind of after that kind of got the world's trust with their ideas. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is sounding very interesting. And I kind of had some Crisis, flashbacks, because I love Crisis, but this is not about video games. Anyway, so we see that the AP basically believes that magma energy can give them immortality, and the whole entire thing starts in 2030 AD, which is our timeline. I'm just going to say 2030 and all that stuff so you can follow on. I know people are going to be like, what, AD? But anyways, Dr. Franxx worries basically that mankind might lose its reproductive system, and that's what the immortality does. It takes the human basic reproductive system and just takes it away from them. And that's kind of the cost of it, I guess. And we start to see the rich were only basically available, or able to get this immortality with the magma fuel. And the government, after, started to force people to give up child making by placing a high tax on childbirth. And quite honest, as much as I know, conspiracy Austin, but it kind of starts to sound very similar to what we're heading. But anyways, going back to anime, we start to see that the world is basically in ruins because of the magma fuel mining, and we flash back to the present where Futoshi basically refused to be Kokoru's partner, and Mitsuru and Kokoru kind of sit down and talk about these memories they don't remember, and basically they're trying to remember but they can't, and it's actually a little upsetting. And after, we go at a flashback to 2036, where we see the human immortality rate has gone past the 70% mark, and Dr. Franxx refuses to be immortal. He wants to kind of, he wants to be something. He doesn't want to be like everyone else. And Karina wants to have a child, and they're on a date too, and I kind of found it very interesting. And Dr. Franxx is extremely dense, and I love it. And Karina, I want to say Katrina, but that's not the right. Karina basically kind of is hinting to him that she wants to have a kid with him, and he was so dense that I couldn't stop laughing. I'm like, oh, this is amazing. But they kind of, after that, we see another fast forward to where AP introduces the plantation project to the world being destroyed by mining. Then after, 2037, we see the Clausosaur first appear to stop the... Basically, because they're attracted to the magma fuel. And it took several nuclear missiles to stop the Clausosaur, and we find out Clausosaurs is equal to the word phrase screaming reptiles, and that's how they got the name. And we see that, as I said, Clausosaurs are attracted to magma energy mines, and the plantations were after turned into these mobile anti-Clausosaur fortresses due to what happened in Australia. And cities were abandoned and making people disappear from the surface. And I got a very big freaking feel from that. I'm like, oh, that is amazing to see that. But we see after that Dr. Franxx basically left Karina to submit the marriage forms that they were getting married, and kind of was a little left behind. I'm like, oh damn, poor her. So he can go see the Clausosaur corpse, and we finally get a good up close to a Clausosaur, and Dr. Franxx talks about how they're both organic and mechanic at the same time. And he tries to research it to see that the Clausosaur has the same XX chromosomes as a human female. And Dr. Franxx was appointed to make the anti-Clausosaur weapon due to his research. And Franxx was called the Clausosaur weapon. If you didn't know, I'm pretty sure if you didn't know that, I don't know what you're watching. But 2042 was the first trial for the Franxx prototype, and we see that the Franxx requires people that haven't basically become immortal. And Karina was one of the actual test pilots for the prototype Franxx, and we see her die in the test. And what really kind of made me feel uncomfortable, she was born in 1998, and I'm just like, wow, she was a year younger than me. Whew. But we start to see that the yellow blood cells acted as a conduit to the Franxx to help them pilot. And then after, we see that the Franxx actually needs two people to alleviate the stress of piloting. And we go back to the present time where Squad 13 is talking about Kokoru and Mitsuru having their minds wiped, and they're basically not happy with what happened, and they're kind of against Papa at this point. And Hiro actually starts to think about asking Papa to return the memories back, because Hiro's the leader of freedom, basically. That's how I see him. But we see the garden was made to kind of house and nurture the actual children, and we actually see Hachi and Nana there, the younger ones, and the parasites they need emotions to pilot, and that's why they have these houses built for them. The adults eventually forgot about Clausosaurus because the children were fighting them off for them. And this is a theory, so I'm going to save it towards the end. Actually, I wrote that down just in case, because as I was watching it, I usually tend to write stuff down that interests me. But we see that Dr. Franxx was allowed to actually see the Clausosaur princess, but the condition was that he has to bring DNA back. And the first time we see any Clausosaur against humans without the actual Franxx is we see this giant crab literally wipe out everyone in. The princess brings brings Dr. Franxx, and basically she smells him, and she talks through the brainwaves. I forgot the name of it, but and basically tells him that you've been killing my brethren. You don't deserve death. You deserve worse. And she rips off his arm. And meanwhile, Dr. Franxx got some DNA. But we see that Dr. Franxx, though, fell in love with the Clausosaur princess at first glance, and it was very interesting. But going further, the squad actually goes to Papa to basically ask them to return the memories, and they just say no. Then Jerome asks the question, how many Clausosaurs do they have to kill before becoming human, adults? They get no answer, and basically we see that the children are just made to pilot and die, sadly. And Hiro tells Papa that he knows about what happened to his and 02's memories and being erased, and how he can't see him as a Papa anymore. And Hiro actually strikes a deal with Papa after the next mission they can leave. Basically, they don't have to deal with him, which is interesting. Then Hiro tells Dr. Franxx that he could not forgive him what he did to 02 when she was little. And it was very interesting because at the end of the episode, we actually see, Dr. Franxx talking about, quotation marks, fate is more cruel than not, but but at times, it can be quite powerless in the face of desire. Yeah, that's kind of the hint, hey, you know, Hiro's going to be the person to change it. And it seems that Hiro is this person that can prove Papa wrong, that these children can become adults, and that's what Dr. Franxx ultimately wants from the kids. And we see at the end some test tube baby, basically, and people are saying it's 02. I'm thinking Hiro, but see, there's an issue with having 02 being the clone. She has red horns, and I know that it's going to piss people off, but think about it. Why would she have red horns? And Hiro actually has blue horns, and we don't know yet, and I'm very fascinated, honestly. This episode pissed me off because it made it seem like 02 is a clone, but it doesn't. If she was, it wouldn't make sense, basically, and it's just kind of the logical thinking. But going on to some of the theories, we're going to see obviously AP is going to try to kill off the squad within that mission, and it's not going to work, and I'm smelling a season 2, honestly, because this is leading up to a rebellion that's going to happen towards the end, because I don't care what you say, Hiro is not going to just let go what happened. He wants revenge, and he's very... I like Hiro because he's for freedom. As I said, and now going to like what I was going to talk about earlier, the magma fuel. You know how we saw in a previous episode, I think it was 14? Not 14. No, not 14. I think it was 11 or 12, one of those. I don't remember exactly, but when Jerome walks around, and we see the adult getting a heart, and I think that's actually the magma fuel to treat them, to keep them immortal, basically. And it's very fascinating that this entire, how everything happened. And I can't wait for the next episode, even though I heard it's going to be actually, you know, in a week, well, 2 weeks. And I'm very disappointed, you know, to say the least. But, yeah, I honestly can't wait, though. I really want to see what's going to happen, and this episode was actually really nice. And, as I said, I can't wait for the future. And I know people are going to try to argue, oh no, 02 is the clone, but there's a lot of things that aren't making sense if that's the truth. And I'll try to make a theory video with this within this week, or I might do it the week after, because, you know, we have a very long time until the next episode, sadly, and it makes me cry. It really does. But anyways, guys, thank you for actually sticking through the video. It means a whole lot. If you are new here, subscribe. Share this video, please. I hope to, you know, make some of you happy. But as always, guys, I will see you until the next time. This is Austin Doctor signing out. Peace.